Hello and welcome to my new video. This is my Columbia River motorcycle trip that I made this last summer. Something different about this video is I'm going to go ahead and narrate it through snapshots or photos, and there's not going to be much video, if any, shown on the rest of this particular video run. Well, most of my trip really didn't consist of much until I got up into Loon Lake, Washington. The previous part of the ride was just mostly all interstate riding and nothing to brag about. But when I got into the Loon Lakes area, there was a nice gal there at the laundromat that pointed me to go ahead and do a byway run going towards Springdale and also the town of Hunter that's right along the Columbia River. So that's what I went ahead and proceeded and did. This here shows me following Highway 25, which runs north and south along the Columbia River. And this is my first image or glimpse of seeing the river on my motorcycle. And this was a particularly exciting moment to be able to first ever see the Columbia River from motorcycle on my trip. So I was quite impressed. And of course, as soon as you can, you got to pull over and get a selfie shot of your new discovery here, the Columbia River. Well, I can tell you a little bit about this town. This is Kettle Falls, Washington. And when I pulled in and went through the town, it was nothing that I expected I thought it would be. I figured any town with the word falls on it would be more of a tourist town, and there would be some waterfalls somewheres and some trees and mountains and just more of a touristy type place. But what I found in this town is more of a lumber mill type town, and people are pretty laid back. Here I am hanging out around the Columbia River Bridge. This is my favorite area and was actually the highlight of my trip along the Columbia River. I just enjoyed hanging out around here. And looking at the upper left is the first video of crossing the bridge. And then later on in the day, I went ahead and parked the bike after supper, and I went for a walk on the bridge. No sun over here. I don't know. So let's see what we can do here. See if we can get any photographs standing over the river here. That's something. There it is. I'll pan that out on the 35mm camera as well. Get some good video there. Yeah, kind of a little bit bigger river than they got in Colorado. Huge, huh? Huge. I would like to add that this particular photo here was my prize photo of the trip with the Columbia River. You know, standing from the bridge here, this is ideally what I came up here for, and this was the best photo overall that I got of the Columbia River. Well, I took a dip in Kettle Lake just a little ways off from my tent, and I found that I'm pretty wussy when it comes to my feet. I couldn't handle the gravel and the rocks out there, and you know, the water's just a bit too cold. And face it, I guess I'm not like some of these guys that take the total dip, but I did get in the water anyways. Here, first thing in the morning, I'm along Kettle Lake again, and if you're doing any video narration, this is what I caught on the GoPro. I'm just describing basically what I'm going to be doing at the lake, and the photo that I'm preparing to do, being that it's early in the morning, and I'm hoping that I've got a little bit of the photographer's golden hour, and I'm looking to do an HDR photo. So here's the ideal HDR photo. These photos are shot in brackets of 3, so what I'm doing is I'm underexposing one photo and overexposing another photo, and then taking an exact exposure photo that I'm after. And I take the layers and I combine them. The next photo will be the same thing, but it will be an evening shot. And of course, if you're taking an HDR photo, you will have to have a tripod, because the fact is the camera can't move when you're shooting 3 continuous frames. Here again, I'm up here at China Curve up on the Columbia River, heading north toward the Canadian border. And once again, if you're going to narrate any video, which you will, this is just a photo of myself beginning to do that. Well, toward the later part of the deal, after riding along the Columbia River up to the border, Canadian, there really wasn't much to see, so I went ahead and came on back and dropped into a small town called Colville, Washington, and it was hot, and probably somewhere around 100. And I walked around town and got about 20 hellos, and eventually I ended up in the brewery. Well, it's time to pack up the bike and leave the Kettle Falls area. And incidentally, I was staying at the North Lake Campground, but now we're going to head back east and go on out toward Island Park, Idaho. That's the destination. One of my highlights of riding back is going by a lily pad pond. I think I was up on Highway 200. The fact is, I didn't give myself the time to stay an extra night at the lily pad lake or pond, whatever you want to call it. And I have never camped around the lily pads, and I sure the hell want to do that sometime. Well, have you ever taken a photograph with a dinosaur? I have. But on this particular occasion, I was just rattling off with the GoPro talking about the truck and a trailer of axles that passed me on the motorcycle on I-90, and one of the axles fell out about 200 yards ahead of me, and man, was that an explosion. But luckily, I braked the bike and rode right through it. Okay, this is my favorite part of the presentation. This is Island Park, Idaho, and I'm right on the Henry's Fork of the Snake River. Now, just to cut my audio a bit short, I made another video particularly to Island Park, Idaho, but I'm going to show you a few scenes of how it looks like up here and get ready for the next video. Yes, the Henry's Fork, guys. This is the only flower photo that I got during the trip. This is the Big Springs area of Island Park, Idaho. Beautiful. Here's a fellow named David that I met about 2 miles down from my campsite, and he is fully retired, just camps out all summer and travels. Here I am this morning up at the Buffalo Dam, which intersects with the Henry's Fork of the Snake River. And currently what I'm looking at doing is surveying the area to figure out what types of photos I want to take, what video, and the cameras I'm going to be using to capture all this beautiful scenery up here. Well, just to wrap up here, I wanted to give you an idea of the camera equipment that I use up here when I'm traveling with my motorcycle. First of all, I'm using a Canon 90D DSLR camera along with an 18-135 zoom lens. And I also carry a 24mm wide lens, which is a fairly fast lens for low light conditions. And along with that, I used the GoPro Hero 7, which I've been using since 2018. I have 2 of those, and they're bulletproof. Along with the cameras, you'll notice that I carry also a tripod for my Canon 90D, and I've also got a, like what I call a JAWS stand for my GoPro Hero 7. You're going to need this type of equipment to shoot videos and photography, because you're going to find trying to lay cameras and GoPros down on rocks and logs just doesn't work out. You're better off with the tripod by 10 times. It just works so much better.